If something is going down, here are the two quick questions. Did I lose money? Is anybody dead? As long as the answer to both of those things are no, great, there's a solution. This is what I need to do next. Because the error or the mistake, the time ahead of you to do good, to make an impact, way longer.
This is the Home of Healthspan podcast, where we profile health and wellness role models, sharing their stories and the tools, practices, and routines they use to live a lively life.
Dylan, we are here, the Home of Healthspan podcast. It is exciting to connect with you. I know you are coming to us from the future. You're in London right now, but I appreciate you carving out the time.
Oh, it's such a joy.
Before we jump into you, everything you do and have done, how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as a lively fitness enthusiast, founder, chief energy officer for anybody who needs it.
Chief energy officer. So I love this. I do think it's worth setting the stage a little bit for our listeners who may not be familiar with you, because I think people might see you and you're like, wow, this crazy fitness person. But your background was pretty heavy, like corporate. And so this came out of a realization, a passion, a need that you've identified for yourself and for millions of other people, I would imagine. So can you talk to me a little bit about, you started with fitness enthusiasts. Like when did that start? How did that start? How did that manifest at different phases of your life? And what does that look like now for you?
I so appreciate the question because I grew up playing sports. I grew up an athlete, but it's so interesting how like my association, my love, my passion for what fitness did for my life actually manifested much, much later when I was working 90-hour weeks. And if someone were to ask why, when I think about sports and everything that I did growing up, it's going to surprise anyone if you're listening on audio. I'm a Nigerian woman who grew up figure skating, so love that juxtaposition for you. But I grew up so devoted to a sport that required you to wake up be at the rink at 5 a.m, get back to the rink after school. But what I associated when it came to like fitness was the competition. It was performance. It was making sure that I showed up in competition and for my teammates. But when it came to the workplace, what a 5 a.m. workout did for me meant that when I went to the trading floor, so when I started my career, I was working on a trading floor, on a foreign exchange trading floor, my mind was working at its best. When you're in a world where you have to operate in the fourth decimal place, so again, I was working on a foreign exchange trading floor, you're buying, selling currencies, that meant that my attention to detail was so high and I was always kind of really on. And what fueled that more than anything wasn't just, picking up weights and putting them down, but it was that realization that it made me feel more confident. I literally was getting stronger and my capacity to deal with high stress situations was just higher.
And that, it seems to have fueled what and why you do what you do now. But before we jump into that, I am curious, maybe selfishly and personally, on this, that whole point of, hey, that 5 a.m. workout helped you show up better, more mentally sharp, more ready to take on the day, to do what is expected of you, what you're capable of at your best when you're at work. And I think there are a lot of people, maybe not our listeners, but people who aren't necessarily in this world as much, who view fitness as almost a selfish activity. Oh, you're doing that for you. And I really see that I'm a better father when I have energy, right? Like if I stay consistent and do my fitness, then I can go all day, like go to the beach with my daughter, then we go play this game, then we go meet these friends, and I am a different person and she gets a different, and I think better father if I'm able to carve out that time. So I personally don't see it as a selfish thing. I think I'm better to those in my life when I get this. And it sounds like you were seeing the same. Is that, as you talk to organizations and make your case, is that an uphill battle you're fighting? Like, how do you position that?
Yeah, and I think it's actually because it is so worth making it just as simple as what you just said, right? So when you move your body, you're getting more energy for everything that you have to do after. So initially when people think, oh, I'm taking time for myself to move, you're only associating with that word taking time for yourself. But what happens next? When you go into your work, your mind is working better. What does your organization want from you? To be giving your best, not just be giving your 50 or 60%, but to be giving your 100%. I use the word energy intentionally because energy is what fuels everything you do. How you show up in your family, how you show up in your workplace, how you show up with your friends. If you don't have any for yourself, then you could arguably say you're not giving any of those stakeholders your very best. So it's the farthest thing from a selfish act to say, I want to give my friends, my workplace, whoever else I'm interacting with my absolute best. In order to do that, fitness, movement, insert whatever well-being activities, actually the requirement that allows me to do that. And that's what I realized super early on, which was it's not that I like to work out. And don't get me wrong, I do think that movement and joy go hand in hand. But when I think about what would it mean for me to show up my absolute best during the day, that means movement was a priority in whatever way I could fit it in. And I just want to be conscious of the fact that there maybe in this audience, we have a lot of other fitness enthusiasts that identify with that word. Right. But if somebody else is listening in the background and thinking, I don't do a 5 a.m. workout, that's not me. Or I don't do these crazy boot camp classes. I want to be so clear that movement can mean so many different things to different people. And they're all correct.
I was in a conversation. There was a bunch of, F45 people that they were all about the F45, this, that, and the other. And there's another lady there who is trying to get back into it and had just done, not F45, but just getting back into movement and fitness. She's like, oh yeah, I got to the gym and I did this 17-minute and it was intense, it was hard. And they were almost trying to shame her, like, you can't get anything done in 17 minutes, this, that, and the other. And saying, guys, I don't think you understand. Like the gap between 0 and 17 is thousands of times bigger than 17 to 45. Like what she did by getting that 17 in is tremendously impactful. Because it's going from 0. That's where the biggest lift comes from, that starting point. And whether it's 10 air squats 5 times a day when you would have just been sitting in the office chair, or your F45, or you're training for an Ironman, those gradations, it's that first step that you get the biggest lift, right?
Oh, I love that you brought up this example to underscore 2 things. First of all, you can make a 17-minute workout effective as heck. So the part that I left out of the story is, well, first, once I figured out that I was in love with fitness and what it did for my life, I'm very much not so somebody that keeps things to myself. So I actually had this dual life where I was working full-time on a trading floor and I was teaching something like 10 fitness classes on top of my full-time job, right? And along the way, credibility is important to me. So I certainly got my CPT, or my Certified Personal Training certification, my behavior change specialization, my corrective exercise specialization. Why? Because this concept of being able to train different types of bodies and understand any human that I engage with is incredibly important to me. But doing so also allowed me to understand this. You give me any human for a minute, and I will show you how to make that minute effective for fitness. And that is so important for people that are working during the day, because you know what? Getting a 17-minute break when you're working an intense, crazy job, that's tough. So sometimes you actually have to get in the habit of harnessing what can I do in 5 minutes? What can I do in 10 minutes? As opposed to abandoning the concept of moving or doing something for your well-being at all. Because sometimes that's all you've got. All you got is 5. All you got is 10. All you got is 17. Use it and know it's effective.
The timing and what the movement is. So another thing I go back to, I had a friend, former colleague, who was a runner, right? Identified runner. And then hurt his ankle. It's like, oh yeah, so I put on 40 pounds or something, right? Because I hurt my ankle, I couldn't run. Like, okay, well that's interesting, right? I could say I'm a swimmer or I'm a this, and I had this knee surgery and I couldn't do anything. But that's not true. I had knee surgery, so I had to be careful with my knee. But I could do a bunch of stuff, right? Like I'd never miss a day at the gym. I just adjusted because it was about movement. It wasn't about a specific, I'm training for life at this point, not a competition. So identifying in a narrow niche where if something gets in the way of that niche and saying, well, I can't do anything, and say, no. I'm just need to move my body to stay healthy. And so if it means I can only do arms, or I can only do back, or I can only do core, or hey, I just had surgery on my back, I couldn't do anything upper body, I can only cycle. Like there's always something, it seems like, you could figure out to do.
I think when you phrase it that way, it widens your aperture for what else you can harness, right? Like what else you may not have realized could have been your thing. I didn't expect to bring this up. Sorry, sister, I'm going to put you on blast for just a second. But my sister is an incredible dancer, absolutely incredible. Like growing up, that was her gift. And she actually hurt her ankle a couple of years ago. And it was just such like a mindset shift where she was like, but what I do is I dance. That was my thing. Fast forward, she picked up cycling about a year ago. And then just this past February, she was like, wait, this brings me a lot of joy. I think I might start competing. She started competing and she's actually like winning races, right? So it's like this like shift from like, oh, I'm only a dancer to wait, no, I need to move because movement made me happy. What are the other ways that I can move? Literally has kind of altered the course of her life.
Yeah.
And it started with the mindset shift.
Moving from identity to things we do. These are things I do, and I can change the things I do, but it's not necessarily who I am or have to stay. So that's a lot on movement. How about how you fuel the body, right? To move well, you need to fuel well. And it's something I've seen with my nieces, my daughter, others, of my nephew. When certain foods go in, like there's a good energy. Other foods go in, there's crashes, there's upsetness, right? They're little kids, and you can see the sugar cycle with them pretty pronounced when they eat certain things versus others. How do you think about, for yourself and or working with clients, that fueling part of things?
Yeah, and I'll be careful here because I'll say my scope of expertise is not necessarily nutrition, but I do think that this connection between what you eat and how you feel is incredibly important. So I will say, even for myself, like the simple shifts of realizing during the day when I ate something like a Rice Krispie treat, I just remember on the trading floor at the time, Rice Krispie treats, they were a thing. But, you know, when I ate it right after lunch and then I had this crash around 2 p.m., it started to really hit me that actually it wasn't even the case that I couldn't have that Rice Krispie treat after lunch. But if I wanted my brain to stay effective, if I wanted to stay on, then that wasn't the right timing, right? Like I can't afford to have a sugar crash in the middle of my day. So being conscious of how do you need to feel? What are types of foods that support high performance, particularly for you, because every body is different? And then actually creating cadences for yourself is really the unlock, because one size doesn't fit all. How I eat as an athlete today is completely different from how you eat, Andrew, as you know, a former competitive swimmer.
Well, how I eat now as a former competitive swimmer is very different than how I ate when I was a competitive swimmer. And needing 12,000 calories a day or whatever I was eating back then.
Totally. One day I'd love to see that breakdown. Like, what was the breakdown of 12,000 for you?
Oh, I remember my senior in college, I was studying Italian and we had to say what we had for breakfast. And I was like, well, you know, I had these 6 eggs and then I had these 4 pancakes and I had these 2 bowls of cereal. And they're like, oh my God. And I was like, I'm not even halfway through. What are you talking about? and I kept going and like, and I'm in class eating muffins because I had eaten muffins before practice, then had breakfast, and then had this because I couldn't possibly make it to lunch without eating more in between. It was a lot.
Now, I borderline want to ask you to say all of that in Italian, but I won't put you on this spot. This is your podcast.
I was doing it all in Italian back then, and then that summer ended up traveling in Spain and Italy and got very confused back because I had studied Spanish for years, and it was like going back and forth was hard. But yeah, that makes sense on the fueling. I have a question on the fitness side back and recovery and how that feeds in. So, you know, there's one camp of overtrain, you need to rest more, and others saying, hey, you couldn't possibly be overtrained. Like the average person can't. Look at these professional athletes, how hard they train. And I was trying to reconcile this for a long time in my head, and then I realized, wait, like Lebron gets like 12 hours of sleep a day, right? Recovery is his job. He spends millions of dollars in his cold plunges and all the different things. So yes, he's not overtrained because he has the right recovery for what his training load is. And so maybe we're not overtrained on what the peak body of ours could do, but in terms of the recovery we're able to give ourselves, we are overtrained. So how, for yourself and or working with clients, do you think of that sleep and recovery side of the equation when you're thinking about how much and how you move your body.
And we're birds of a feather, because LeBron was going to be my go-to example too, which is like, like truly, like before a playoff game, you're not seeing him overtraining. You're seeing him like taking the necessary pause that allows him to go hard. And I want to say, like, if anybody's listening and they're thinking, well, I'm not necessarily an athlete, let me be so clear. This applies to the workplace too, right? So like how you sleep the day before a big meeting actually does impact your recall. Like, we talk about our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for all of our executive function. Sleep is vital for your prefrontal cortex. So if you do have a big presentation, if you do have a big conversation coming up, actually recovery is part of how you're going to perform the next day. You asked specifically about fitness, but I can't help but link these two things together, since like the work that we do at Dilagence is really around helping employees broadly think about performance. Recovery in life matters. It supports when you want to go hard. So coming back to this example of fitness, it is part of the cycle. And if you're the type of person that goes to a group fitness class and you run out right after the stretch, I want to highlight the stretch. That's actually part of the workout. Like, think about it as actually part of the entire circle, which is you're preparing your body for the future work that it needs to do. When we talk about sleep, we think it's a passive process, and it's not. Your body's recovering itself, it's healing itself, it's clearing out waste. So as opposed to thinking about performance and recovery in all senses, fitness, work, other things that are important to you as things that are divorced, actually very much still think about these things as they go hand in hand. They're part of the process. They reinforce each other.
I mean, I'd expand it beyond just the big presentation, the big meeting. I mean, we know from daylight savings, right, the number of cardiovascular events that go up or down depending on which way we go on sleep. The IQ, how it adjusts by several points. So it's whether it's a big meeting or not. I mean, do you want to be stupider than you are normally on any given day? Like your IQ literally is lower when you're not getting to sleep, or increase in car accidents, right? Like you're putting yourself and others on the road at risk at a certain percent when you have sleep deprivation.
Totally. I don't have the exact stat, but there's a stat that says that like not getting sleep is just as bad as drunk driving, right? And people read these things and go, and then move on to the next. And then, anytime I meet somebody that says, oh, I get by just fine on 3 to 4 hours of sleep, I just immediately go, but have you ever consistently gotten 7 to 8 and seen how you think and how you feel on 7 to 8? Because I bet it's a world of difference.
This is a truth across all 5 pillars, whether it's moving your body, it's fueling your body, it's sleep, every single one. In that people say, oh, I'm fine, right? Like I because it's the world they live in. It happens slowly, right? They don't feel like they did when they were 6, but they feel like now that they're 46, however they feel, and it happens slowly, and like, this is what normal is. Then all of a sudden, you start putting them on a plant-forward diet. They're eating lots of plants versus processed stuff. Like, oh, you know what? Like, my knees and ankles don't hurt when I step out of bed in the morning. Like this feels different. This feels better. Oh, wow. When I move, it doesn't hurt. And all these things, it's possible now, but you just think whatever your baseline is of like, hey, I'm fine. There's this whole different world on optimization. I realize for a lot of people that can get a bit pejorative or have a negative connotation on optimize. Hey, I don't want to optimize my life. I just want to live it. I'm like, well, do you though? Like you could have these vibrant, amazing days.
Yes. And like you're speaking to so much of what I care about, where I think so many people just get through their lives surviving. They just get through their lives being like, I'm fine or I'm okay. And like, we're just going to point to the name of the podcast, like home of the Healthspan. When you're living, or we have the opportunity to live into your 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe 100, it's not just about getting to the number. Can you get there with joy? Can you get there feeling filled up, like lit up on a regular basis, engaged with everything that you're doing? And the difference are these little tweaks. And if you don't like the word optimize, fine, pick tweak, pick small adjustment. Yeah. But even what you're talking about, like this element of like making tweaks to your diet, thinking about getting more like healthy vegetables into your life, moving in whatever ways that bring you joy, they aren't like crazy shifts, but they're little things that unlock these big leaps so that when we're talking about living long, living well, it's not just fine. it's rich, it's full, it's enjoyable. And I think everybody deserves that.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people miss too, because you mentioned the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. They're like, well, I'll worry about that when I get there. But it impacts today. Like I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is how much better they can feel today. Having just working with the people I've been working with since starting Alively and seeing within weeks, like, oh my God, like I thought I wouldn't like this kind of food, this fresh plants, fresh animal, whatever, instead of all the processed junk I was eating. But I actually really like the taste. Like this is actually pretty delicious. And you know what? I feel so much better. Like I didn't realize because that's how I always felt, but I feel so much better. Oh wow, when I move my body, I don't wake up sore. I actually have more energy when I expend more energy. Like how is that possible? All these things and sleep. Oh, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden getting 8 hours. Whoa, I'm a different person. It's just.
And seeing how interconnected all of these things are, like they're not separate, like they become a comprehensive part of how you operate. So it's not just saying I'm a different person. You actually are. You actually are operating differently. You are thinking differently, and you're opening up your world to see things that you probably couldn't see because you weren't living to your full potential, which I think, again, like it is about how you feel today, but I'm also somebody that tries not to live with regret, and I don't want regret for other people. And when I hear people say things along the lines of, wow, I wish I knew this stuff earlier, or they have the major life event and they're going, oh, wow, these were the little things that I wish that I'd harnessed in my 20s and my 30s. If you have the opportunity to prevent that life event as best as you can, genetic risk factors aside, to realize that you can gain 20 years as opposed to looking back and realizing you lost time, just make the shift. It's totally worth it. It's truly worth it. It's worth your time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a truism in everything, right? I think it's an old Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is today. And so whatever it is, like the best time to eat better or move better, all this was a while ago. But the second best time is right now. And not tomorrow, but literally right now. But well, I just had this junk for breakfast. Like, okay, but you don't have to for lunch. You can start now. Like you don't need to wait till tomorrow. Like today is not gone. Every single moment is an opportunity to invest in yourself.
Correct. I mean, I remember being on a call with someone who, again, she's amazing beyond measure. And like when it comes to her professional life, has accomplished so much. We started the call and she was really down. And the reason she was down was she has been changing making some tweaks to her diet. And she's like, I ate a donut and I just like totally effed up the rest of my day. And I was like, it's 10 a.m. What will you be doing the next 12 hours of the day? Yeah. We have plenty of time for us to change that. So the sooner you can go, I can't do this, but I can do this, or I did this, but you know what? Now I can make this next step. That mindset shift is just so powerful. And it gives you your time and your energy back. And you spend less time thinking in a negative space about things that you can't get back. But the future is way ahead of you. I'm living 5 hours in advance. It's good.
And I mean, I'd love to dig more on this mindset and how you work with clients there. Because, whether it's in sports, right? You miss a putt, you miss a shot. You say, okay, like I can harbor that and let it impact the rest of the game. Or I did that, now let me get back to it. I messed up a trade, and so now I'm just spinning out and I do a bunch of other bad trades, or I put that to the side, learn, and move forward. And it's the same with any decision we make at any point. Yes. Like, okay, that was one thing. Do I learn something different right now that I can change? So do you have any kind of structured practices that you put in place around mindset, around stress management to notice those things and change going forward?
Yeah, it's funny. Before I started Dilagence, when I talked about working on the trading floor, very quickly, when you're in a high pressure environment where, again, in this world where I was living in currencies, and when somebody says we're dealing with a buck in my world meant $1 million, right? So a buck is small change. Very quickly, you have to be able to cut through the noise, cut through the loud voices. And then if something is going down, here are the two quick questions. Did I lose money? Is anybody dead? As long as the answer to both of those things are no, Great. There's a solution. There is a way to understand, okay, this is what went down. This is what I need to do next. Because the error or the mistake, assuming that no, the answer to both those questions are no, is this much. The time ahead of you to do good, to make an impact, to actually like reclaim whatever that mistake was, way, way longer. As long as you can go, okay, this is what happened. This is what I need to do next. This is what I need to understand so I do not do it again. And you move forward and you keep sharpening your game. And I kind of want to go back to like this LeBron example, right? Like LeBron doesn't have a perfect game, right? It's like every single time. That's not the case. But why is he in the gym training? Why does he keep sharpening his game? Because there's always something that you can tweak. There's always something you can learn. There's always something that's going to help you to continue to be your best. So it's okay to acknowledge that things happened. And in fact, it's a necessary part of life. But the unlock is how quickly can you go from the fact that it happened and take the next best step that you can. So that way you're actually moving towards who you're supposed to be or accomplishing whatever you're supposed to be accomplishing work-wise, life-wise, fitness-wise.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about that, accomplishing the next thing. I mean, I'd love to get into your journey, your why, your purpose as you made this shift. And think about social connection purpose. We have the whole health side that can be very internally focused, but there's a whole part of what we then put out and contribute to the world.
Yeah.
And I think you were experiencing something, saw something, and you said, hey, there's a need here. Let me go start to fill and serve that.
Yeah. So I'll say the two things that Dilagence does today is on one half, we do programming. We particularly work in offsites or think lunch and learns, new hire orientations to help people understand what should peak performance look like in your workday. And the second piece we'll do is lots of organizations have incredible benefits. Employees want to use their benefits. We make sure that they're being communicated in ways that engage, retain, and are well communicating with talent. I built a company that I definitely know that I would have loved to have while I was working in those 90-hour weeks. Understanding how do I make sure that I'm regularly being well-being into my life? And how am I making sure that it's getting communicated to me about what matters? Like if I'm somebody who cares about fitness, how do I make sure that I know that I have these fitness benefits available to me? For me, the reason why I left finance, despite the fact that there's certainly a steady career, there's some level of certainty to it, right? Both financially in terms of a career path, was understanding that I discovered this in my life, but everybody in a workplace deserves to thrive. Everybody deserves to have the tools that they need to live well. And even after I left finance, and the next step was working in a variety of incredible corporate health and fitness organizations, was realizing I'm not done until I've had the opportunity to create something that plugs back into the future of work, exactly what I wish I'd had. So Dilagence has actually been this culmination in realizing, how can I take this full journey of working in fast-paced environments, actually having the opportunity to work in some of the best fitness organizations in the planet, and then make it so employees and organizations large and small can harness their own well-being in ways that both serves their organization, but most importantly serves themselves, serves their communities, and allows them to live well and long.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's very needed. It's, I think, being, and you tell me if I'm wrong, better received with every passing year as people recognize the importance, the cascading benefits of it. For someone listening to this who says, yes, I want that, how can they find you, follow you, engage with you?
Yeah, so I would say our website is dilagence.com. And if you have an offsite coming up, or you want to do a team building exercise or a lunch and learn, that's a perfect place for us to come in and start our engagement with you. If you just did your employee engagement survey and you're starting to think through how you can better support your workforce, once again, reach out. Dilagence.com is the easiest place. We have a free newsletter that is always going to be free. Health education and health equity is incredibly important to me and why I started this business. So for free health and habits, you can always subscribe to our newsletter, the C-Suite Workout, and follow me on LinkedIn. Always posting fun things there.
Well, Dylan, it was a pleasure to catch up with you. I appreciate you coming back from the future to to spend today with us. And I look forward to, continuing the conversation offline and working together in the future. So thank you.
If you can't tell, if you weren't watching this, I was smiling so much throughout this conversation. So it was truly a joy and a delight to be 5 hours behind with you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Home of Healthspan podcast. And remember, you can always find the products, practices, and routines mentioned by today's guests, as well as many other Healthspan role models on alively.com. Enjoy a lively day.